right, today we have the privilege of speaking with a couple gentlemen about the new Entrepreneurship certification that we'll be offering at Cleveland Community College in the spring 2013 semester. And joining us today we have Steve Padgett, who is an adjunct instructor in our Entrepreneurship program, and Greg Airwood, who is an instructor and department chair of the Business Administration program. And I understand this certification is a grant from the Small Business and Entrepreneurial Assistance Grant Program through the North Carolina Department of Commerce. Greg, I know you've worked closely with Emily Sisk on securing this grant, and I'd just like for you to talk a little bit about why the college thought this was something we should take advantage of and how some of the courses were selected.
Sure, it's a logical extension of our initiation of the entrepreneurship program a couple of years back as one means to combat the high unemployment rate in Cleveland County. I'm sure we'll talk in a few minutes about job creation that is spurred by small businesses, but one of the things that our program seeks to circumvent is the extremely high failure rate among small businesses. This grant, which will send hopefully a cohort of students who begin in January, they will walk across the stage at graduation in May with a certificate in entrepreneurship, having completed 5 courses totaling 17 hours. So that was some of the thought to compact an entire certificate program into one semester.
And that seems like something that's going to be really good for students to take advantage of, to get all that in one semester.
Oh, I certainly think so.
Absolutely.
It's rigorous, but for a budding entrepreneur who is maybe thinking about testing the waters, it's a great time to jump in and see if it's for them without investing a lot of money on the front end.
Right, absolutely. And that's a scary thing for someone to take on, but it's something
Sure
that might be helpful to them. And Steve, I understand that you'll actually be teaching some of the courses in this certificate, and maybe you could touch on a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's correct. We have several courses in the program, and most of them pertain to the innovation and creativity side of building businesses. Everybody wants to be in a business that kind of has some unique features to it or has something that the market doesn't offer right now. And the business that they want to go into sometimes doesn't fit what their original plans were. Maybe it's a financing issue, or maybe it's something to do with the product or the service. But all these courses that we have introduce them to different means of getting those supports and that help that they need, starting with the community college.
Absolutely. And the next question I'd like to direct to you both, but in your opinion, what do you think some of the reasons why someone might want to become an entrepreneur? One of the main reasons you think they would like to do that?
Well, first and foremost, it's the American dream. Entrepreneurship, year in, year out, and this is not according to me, this is according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, accounts for, I said year in, decade out, accounts for just over 75% of all new jobs created and the creation of wealth. We hear a lot of headlines about how bad the economy is, and there's a lot of truth in it, but a lot of the headlines don't illustrate the growth over the last 3 decades in the number of millionaires, many of whom are millionaires through starting their own businesses. We've gone since 1980 from having 519,000 millionaires in America to 9.3 million. And a lot of those have done it through starting their small businesses.
Absolutely. And who wouldn't want to work for themselves? That's a great opportunity, especially if it's a good way to make some money for yourself as well.
Well, it's a commitment. I grew up in a family-owned business, so I know that side as well as the corporate banking side, where I spent 25 years before entering the ministry and simultaneously starting here at the college. And one of the things that spurred our creation of this program, and a follow-up to your earlier question, is that failure rate. 70% of all new small businesses fail in the first 5 years, and that's catastrophic, and that wipes people's life savings out in many cases. The SBA has two primary reasons that are attributed to those failures. Number one is inadequate capital or financing of the owner. And secondly, which is a bigger reason, is the education level of the owner. That's where we come in.
Right. And that's great to give those students and those people interested in trying to do their own business and start their own entrepreneur ideas, give them some help and give them some educational background that might help them from being part of that 70% that
Sure.
fail.
And it's not just capital, it's financing. That's one of the reasons that this certificate program requires a Principles of Banking course, which I'll teach. And Steve and I teach a majority of the classes in this certificate program. But having been a banker and financed a lot of small businesses in 4 different states over 25 years, I learned that entrepreneurs think entrepreneurially. They're excited about the marketing aspects. They're excited about product development, but they don't speak the language of bankers in order to articulate their loan requests. And these students are going to be side by side in classes with bankers, and they're going to learn to underwrite their own loans. They also will get a heavy dose of personal finance in the Intro to Business course. Intro to Entrepreneurship and Real Small Business give them 2 really solid approaches to creating a business plan. And Accounting 120, Principles of Financial Accounting, teach them the language of business. So that's part of our approach with this.
It sounds like students are going to get a great opportunity, especially with gentlemen like yourselves who have been in the business yourself, and you understand aspects of what they're going to encounter as they go forward. And I understand too that statistics have been showing us that there's a lot of entrepreneurs beginning over the age of 50 now. And could you give me a reason why you think that might be?
Well, corporate downsizing is one profound reason. The economy in general has been lackluster at best after the financial meltdown, and you have a lot of seasoned, mature, potential entrepreneurs, many of whom have 401ks, other savings, money they can put into it. And I'm certainly not a CPA, but I know enough to prompt them to ask their tax professional questions about how their 401k could enhance their inception of a successful small business.
And we've probably touched on this a little bit, but just to get your guys' opinion again on why you think this certificate in particular will be important and how some of the classes that are part of it might be useful to the students that are interested in starting their own business.
Well, interesting you mentioned that. I have several former students who are now real live entrepreneurs in their businesses. Hey guys, if you're watching, and they always tell me that when I see them in their businesses or just see them out in general, how much the things that we did in these classes are like the real world, how useful the tools and techniques that they learn here are in terms of applying them immediately in their business every day. We do a role play called Banker Entrepreneur. That's an exercise where half the class becomes the principles of a small startup business. The other half is a bank loan committee, if you will, that interviews their loan request. It looks at every facet of business planning, the operational and legal structure, a financial plan, a marketing plan, and they have to put this together into a cohesive package pretty quickly, and it's very realistic, it's very real world applicable.
That's great. And I see that you have a few props here with us today. Is there something you'd like to touch on a little bit?
Yes, I'd like to mention a couple of things. One of them being that a lot of people want to start their own business because they feel like that if they own their own business, they don't have to do much, don't have to work much. But there is a phrase in one of our textbooks that makes it very clear, you only have to work a half a day. It depends on which 12 hours you want to work during that half day. And you mentioned a while ago about a over 50-year-old being an entrepreneur. This example I have here is an invention that was made by a gentleman who was 52 when he got the idea. His name was Jerry Andrews, and he and his wife were at a soccer game, and the next week it was his turn to bring the coffee. And he told his wife and the group of folks there that, yeah, he'd just bring the coffee, wouldn't be any problem. Well, it came to the day beforehand, and he says, I don't know how I'm going to take 12 cups of coffee to the soccer game. So he got to thinking about a possible way to carry that coffee. And he came up with this idea, called it Joe to Go. Right. This particular one is a Chick-fil-A Joe to Go. This one is a Panera Bread. And what he found out was getting to this point was a very, very difficult process. First of all, he used up all of his 401k money. He even mortgaged his house to get some finances, because he could come up with the box, but he couldn't come up with a good solution. The box is a very simple piece of cardboard, but this bag inside is the real trick. This was a highly engineered product to keep the coffee warm and to keep it where it would be fresh, and he had to spend a little bit of money to get to that. However, people still thought it was great, but didn't really buy into it until one day Dunkin' Donuts said, you know, I believe we'll try to send some of those out with our donuts. Mm-hmm. Now he makes it by the millions. I mean, they're everywhere. But that's the kind of creative and innovative thinking that it takes to be a successful small business entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And it's funny, we actually had one of the ladies from my office today brought a Dunkin' Donuts Joe to Go
Really?
for the office. So it's funny that you bring this.
They're
today.
everywhere now.
They are. And that man, you know, no age is too old to come up with an idea like this.
Absolutely.
And he's made a good life and a good business for himself and maybe for his children and so on. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Understand also one of the elements of this grant will be scholarships that are given to the students that are going to be in these classes that will give them an opportunity to maybe attend some of the small business seminars that we hold monthly here at the college. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Our Small Business Center was either last year or year before named the Small Business Center of the Year throughout the 58 community college where they're housed in North Carolina. And they have ongoing seminars pretty much every month, all on very practical, quick and easy to apply topics. A lot of them center around one of the biggest weaknesses, in my opinion, that most budding entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs have, and that's the financial and legal side of the business. And we certainly encourage students to take advantage of that and to contact us.
And that's outstanding. I wasn't even aware myself that we were the Small Business Center of the Year. So that's great, and it's another great opportunity for students in this program.
That's part of our continuing ed branch of the college, but there's always something going on there every month.
Right. And they are now located in the new LeGrand Center, so that's a great new facility for folks to get some of that training as well. And I know we've touched on a lot of things, but is there anything else that either one of you guys would maybe like to speak on that we haven't touched on?
Well, Steve and I are both past chairmen of the Cleveland County Chamber of Commerce, and we've had a great track record. I'm looking at the unemployment rate, a chart of it over the last few years, and with some of the industrial recruitment we've had, we've brought it down considerably, but we're still above both the North Carolina and well above the U.S. Averages in unemployment. Big business is important. It's important to bring those quality, high-paying jobs in, but a component that we still lack in our local economy is the small business. And the job creation that comes out of that taps into the multiplier effect that we saw in our national economy both in the 1960s and the 1980s that spurred the economy for a long time to come. We hope to be able to install some of those effects here in Cleveland County on a more micro local level.
And that's great. And And like you said, I mean, of course, people think big business and they think that's where a lot of jobs are, and that
And
is
it's
correct.
important.
It is important, and they do bring a multitude of jobs when a big business comes in. But small business is also important, and most big businesses had to start as a small business. So it's always a great place to start and get some good training. And I think this is a great certificate and a great opportunity for students that are interested.
Sure. Just take Apple Computer, for instance. By market capitalization, the largest company in America started in Steve Jobs' garage as a small business. But by 1980, it had been eclipsed by Commodore computer. Well, you're too young to remember the Commodore 64K. I actually had one. They were $1 billion company. And the difference between Commodore and Apple is that Apple continued to innovate and get those creative juices flowing. Steve teaches a class called Innovation and Creativity in our Entrepreneurship degree program. That's the difference between Commodore, which was bankrupt by 1983, and Apple, which not only survived but has thrived today. And every large business today started as a small business. As you said, Thomas Edison was the first CEO of General Electric. He started it.
Right. And like you said, innovation is a very important part to all of this. Like you said, with Apple, of course, they've been very innovative and created things like iPads, like you have right here, that were thinking out of the box, but things that took them to another level.
Sure.
If someone is watching today and they'd like to get more information about this program, should they contact one of you guys or
Me.
both of you guys? Okay, contact Greg.
Sure. The best way to get me, and it'll probably be on the screen, but my email address here at the college is arrowwoodg. It's probably going to be on the screen somewhere. arrowwoodg@clevelandcc.edu. And I'd love to talk with you, get you some materials about the program. Also, more answers to some of your questions would be on our college's website under the student handbook. There's a detailed description of our entrepreneurship certificate, and we also offer diplomas and degrees in entrepreneurship with additional courses as well. But the student handbook has full course descriptions that can give you all of that information.
Absolutely. And like you said, the website's a great place to go. They can always get a college directory. If they forgot your information, they can look up. There's a picture of you on there so they can know that it's you and they can find your information. And they can also get a student handbook online if they'd like as well. So I appreciate you guys for coming and speaking with us today, and thank you for your time. And don't forget that if you need information about this program or any other program and you'd like to apply to this program or any other degree at Cleveland Community College, you can do an application online at clevelandcc.edu, or you can stop by Student Services on the second floor of the Jack Hunt Campus Center. If you'd like information about counseling and admissions information, you can contact 704-669-4103. Or like we said again, check our website at clevelandcc.edu for more information. We'll be right back after this.